What's up, everybody? Welcome back to BizTalk. And once again, I am here with some amazing people tonight to answer some questions. It's not going to be the typical questions of where's the money. The fact of the matter is you guys hear that all the time. Are inundated in your emails with we got a loan for you, $1 bazillion, or you go to your bank, you know where to go for that. And you just hear it all the time. You even go to conferences. We put on conferences. You go to conferences and somebody's telling you, where's the money? It's over here. So now that we know where the money is, why are you not getting funded? Why are you failing to get a grant? Why are you failing to get approved for a loan? Why are you not getting a credit card? Who the hell knows? The onus tends to fall on us as small businesses because the problem is we don't know everything we think we know. We might be making a mistake. It might be just out of our scope. I'm not a numbers guy. I got a Mark for that. My business partner, Mark, he's the guy with the spreadsheets. Put the money in front of me, tell me how much I'm allowed to spend, and I'll go spend it. And without my Mark, I'll be bankrupt. So I'm going to introduce three experts. In my opinion, they're experts. And they might be like, no, Eric, we're not experts. But they are. Don't let them fool you. I'm bringing on, and she's going to be mad at me because she doesn't want me calling her the queen of the SBA because she don't want no flack from DC. But I want to introduce Lindsay Kilpatrick. She is the co-director of the SBA Region 2, and that's New York, Puerto Rico, New Jersey, U.S. Virgin Islands. And in my opinion, she's the queen of the SBA, whether she likes it or not. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Eric. Good to see you. Glad to be here tonight.
So hopefully I won't get you in trouble with DC.
We'll see.
And then I want to introduce a gentleman. He is and I might be getting this wrong, the director, the executive director. He's the big boss of the Hudson County Office of Business Opportunity here in New Jersey. And that's a big lift. Because he's responsible for, helping small businesses find opportunity, teach them how to deal with in their businesses. And I could be getting this wrong again. There might be more to it than that. And this is Markis Abraham, and I'm going to say this real cool, Esquire.
Thanks, Eric. You definitely got it. You hit it on the head. And I am the director. That's the only correction I'll make.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to write a letter because you should be executive.
No, don't write any letters on my behalf to Hudson County.
Right? Nobody wants me to show up at their office. All right. So then I'm bringing back my one and only pain in the ass. Basically, he's Batman. I'm Robin in this case. Rafael Mata, I've introduced him like 300 times because he's been on every show. He is the president of Gambit Services and co-founder and chairman of the National Center for Local and Business Workforce Development. How are you, sir, pain in the ass?
Very, very good. Thank you. It's always good to be in your company. Always a colorful time on your show.
Well, I don't want to make it boring, and I don't want to pitch fluff, and I always want to try to give the truth. That's really what's important here. And we only got an hour to do that. And just so you know, I don't know how Rumble's rolling, but this episode we are supposed to be streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook for the first time simultaneously. So for me, that's exciting. I know other people I do that all the time. But we're here to talk about, like I said in the opening of the show, was it's about not where's the money. We know it's out there. We know there's money out there. And if you're involved if you get those newsletters from all these government agencies, this grant disappeared, but suddenly this grant's over here, or you get a ton of, emails. This broker has a 460. Why is it so precise? $464,227 loan for you. I don't know. But we get a lot of that. And we're here more to talk about the why people aren't getting approved. I pulled a statistic, which I'm going to hit you guys with. And this is a very generalized statistic, but it is roughly the overall rejection rate for small businesses under SBA standards nationally is up to 48% per year are denied a loan. That's pretty astounding considering how many businesses you see out there that you think are doing really well, making money. Lindsay, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think one of the hard truths, and I'm glad that we're having open and honest conversations, because we would like to think that every business, every small business, every entrepreneur has a great idea. And the reality is that while we want that to be the case, that's not always the case, right? Like, so before you even start talking about the financing, you have to understand that not every business is a bankable business. And so you really have to look at the industry. You may have a great idea, and I don't want to say that it's not bankable ever, but not immediately. There are some businesses that on day one, you can walk into an officer's office for a financial institution and they're like, yes, this is great. You know, maybe the community needs it, or maybe this falls right in line with the bank's mission, or we haven't completed a loan application in this industry. This is exactly what we were looking for. But there are some things that lenders are going to look at, right? So outside of your business plan, they're going to look at your capacity as a business owner. If you're a startup, your capacity is fairly small. If you are an existing business, maybe your capacity is a little, your net is a little wider to be able to attract lenders and to qualify for loans. But I think that realizing that SBA requires collateral it's something I need to say, because people walk in and they're like, well, I have $1 million idea, and I always say, if your idea is $1 million, I need you to have 100,000 in the bank. And so when you're planning to speak to a lender, make sure that you understand whether or not your business is bankable immediately. And then know what you have to offer the bank. Every time you're looking at a loan, the bank is looking at a risk. So you need to make sure that you make that bank feel comfortable. And just because SBA is offering the banks a guarantee, that does not mean that banks are still not taking risks on your business. A couple of points, and the reality is that sometimes it's going to be these hard conversations that help you grow your business. And I think if you start off by saying, I have a great idea, that's great. But now we need to talk about the profitability and then the bankability of your business.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I know your boots on the ground with SBA, Lindsay, in a really wide region, right? But, talk to us, Markis, because now we're talking, you're really knee deep, neck deep in Hudson County compared to, a whole state. What did Lindsay say to spark, you nodding your head? I mean,
yeah, no, these are some of the things that have been revealed to me just from having very deep and honest conversations with business owners themselves, and being able to have a higher level of conversation with people in the industry that are dealing with lending and grant opportunities. A lot of what Lindsay says rings true. I like to get down into the details. I have an accounting background, and I think a lot of times when we're helping small businesses, the biggest help is to be able to get down into the details with them to understand how to get things done. And so what comes up oftentimes is just the lack of systems internally that they have to account for the financial story they have to tell. You can tell your business plan story, and somebody can help you be persuasive with that. But if you can't tell the financial story through your actual business, then you're going to be in big trouble. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm a new business. I'm only in business a couple years. Whether you're going for an SBA loan or another type of product, you're going to need to tell that story going forward. And so business owners don't even know what a pro forma is and never have prepared one for their business idea specifically and how that's going to take them through the next term of this loan. If the loan is 5 years, you got to show the lender that you have this down for 5 years, right? So you need to know what a pro forma is. You need to know what a debt service coverage ratio is as a business owner, and you need to be able to live with those documents and numbers in a very fluid way so you can communicate the way lenders want you to communicate.
Sure. So, just for clarity, for people watching who don't know what a pro forma is, you might have also heard it's projections. What are you projecting, and how are you laying that out in a spreadsheet and hitting those goals? That's a pro forma. And as far as a debt service, in street terms, can your business afford to pay the monthly payment after all your expenses? It's that simple, right? So don't be afraid of the big words. And I think that's another thing. You and I have had this conversation, Rafael, that people kind of quit, right?
Yep.
We've seen that they run up against an application. We saw it in the grant application you and I were working on for us. There was things that were there that a lot of people, are just walking away because it's frustrating, because
Right.
there is this red tape process, unfortunately. And it may not always be just the process. It may be sort of the technologies, like, really, come on, it's the 21st century. You should have this shit figured out. But hey, okay. So talk to me about, like, what is it? Is it a lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of understanding in some cases, that it's not just, I'm not a prepared business, but, and I guess that really falls under preparedness, having a knowledge, or somebody telling you, teaching you what these things are. Talk to me about what you've seen.
So you know my mantra all the time. First of all, there's not much more that I could add that these two folks didn't already cover. But the one thing that I would emphasize is, very simply put, there's a lot of doors to access funding, and businesses in general, they're not going to all the doors. So I'll put out there, for example, community development financial institutions or financing institutions. These are people that are in a better position to give lending at a higher risk and still have low interest rates. There's also factoring, which is very expensive, but it's all about being creative, and how much gusto somebody's going to have to generate that money needed to start having those conversations that Lindsay and Markis kind of covered. On my end, that my company does a lot of procurement readiness and helping people prepare bids and things like that. Those are the sort of clients that we get, and you'd be very surprised at how even medium-sized companies don't have their business dossier together. For example, they don't have their formation documents and all the sort of compliance things to operate in their state of origin and other states and all that other stuff. Sounds like boring stuff, but these are the same things that financial institutions look for. These are the same things that grant people look for. Because in the space of funding and grants, what people are looking for is that you're a bona fide business, prepared, and you have all your documentation, and you're able to speak with clarity what you provide and how that's going to generate how much money and all that. Because if you don't know, who's going to know in your company? If the leader doesn't know, who's going to know? So yeah, a lot of people get lost in the amount of paper and documentation that has to be put forth, and it's all necessary and it's all legal, and there's no way around it. All right. And then on the other end, accessing money is identifying which door to go through, and every door is going to have its own process and its own website, and we have to accept that nobody talks to anybody else. And it's a big dream. Those are things we see in the movies, how all the systems talk to each other. There's only one time that all the systems talk to each other: when you did something wrong and they're looking for you. All the systems work seamlessly. But as far as procurement and businesses and stuff like that, I'm sorry. It's a million doors. Find the right door, follow the process behind each door. Just that is not being done. And I'll tell you that feeds that 48%, I think you said, is they quit. They just quit. They get to a certain point, and then they just quit.
Well, damn, we just solved all those problems in 14 minutes. Y'all just killed my show. I told you before the show, make it beefy, drag it out. Mm-hmm. So I want to circle back around, because I think I don't want to take the onus off of a small business, because we have to be responsible, and we have to. If we don't understand something, we have to get the help for somebody to teach us. And especially with AI now, a lot of that stuff, you could say, what's a pro forma? And AI could just give you a paragraph, and then you could deep dive that stuff and get essays of it. But I also am going to shift a little bit, because I think one of the things that I see it from a marketing side, being on the advertising and marketing side. I see a lot of these quote unquote dreams being delivered to people on social media, on email, where it's, hey, you've been approved for. We've seen that forever. It used to come in the mail. You've been approved for this $1 million credit card, right? You still get them. But I see it a lot on social. I get it in my own emails. I mean, when Mark and I got our American Express card, we got inundated with all these loans that we're approved for because our Dun and Bradstreet rating is so good. I mean, if I took them all, I'd probably have close to $500 million right now based on every email. You know what I mean? It's so. How do you guys? Do you feel that has an impact, Markis? Why don't you jump on this one? Do you feel that advertising enclave fuels the fire of some of this misinformation? Basically, impacts people.
Yes, I think that people sometimes want to convince themselves of something that they otherwise know isn't true. So we live in the United States of America. It's a capitalist society. They primarily, their primary export to the world are financial products. So what do you think you're going to see on your feeds? Advertisements for you to buy financial products like credit cards, like loans, or the like. So don't fool yourself into thinking somehow the algorithm is really paying attention to you and know that you are really qualified for this money. You should ask yourself, whenever you're taking on debt, is it going to produce income? If you don't have an income producing vehicle behind getting the debt, you really shouldn't be taking it on. So who cares if you got pre-approved for $500 million worth of stuff? If you don't have a business idea related to generating $500 million plus one, don't take it out. That's the first point. What are you taking out the money for? People say this, oh, you got to have it available in case you need it to be ready. That's fair if you're in like construction or something. But if you're not doing handbags and you might get Macy's, so you need now 20,000 handbags, then stop it. You don't need that line of credit at the bank. You don't. So that's the main thing. What are you getting this debt to produce income for? Answer that question. And if you can't, don't do it.
Yeah, Lindsay, I saw you clapping over there.
Yeah, so. That's it. And I'll just state this to anyone who's watching or will watch. The four of us work together very well and very closely, so we can have these conversations with business owners, and it's refreshing again to have these out loud, like not just amongst ourselves. But Markis hit the nail on the head. Capital is not going to solve all of your problems. Money is not going to make things better if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a true need, because all it's going to do is, if there are cracks in your business, pouring money into that crack is just going to widen it, and it will become a hole. And so small business owners have to understand, do you have standard operating procedures in place? Are you really scalable, right? Like, do you need to grow right now? Are you in that frame in your business timeline where you need to put pedal to the metal and start taking out loans? If now is not the time, don't even click on that advertisement. Don't get excited about it, because you need to have clear direction before you start accessing capital. Businesses are not just failing because they cannot access capital, but they've accessed capital and the capital hasn't helped because they're irresponsible. And so we have to make sure that we're not just irresponsibly accessing it. It's okay to have a healthy fear of loans, right? Like, everyone wants a grant. I don't want to have to pay it back. Listen, me too. I don't want to have to do anything after I get the money. I just want to put it to what I need it for. But the reality is that if you don't have a plan for repayment, then the debt is going to be bad. And so I think when we're talking about accessing capital, we said it earlier, it's about preparing yourself, and not when before you walk into that office. Have it on paper. Know what the market is saying. What does your inventory look like? Is it going to change? Is the economy growing with your business? Is your industry going to phase out in a couple of years? You need to make sure that you have a very strategic plan for the money before you apply for it. because otherwise you will hurt your business more than you will help.
Yeah. What's your take on the whole the marketing and advertising of loans, Rafael, and lending?
I think, I serve the businesses directly. I think it's very predatory on a lot of the part of these companies. The way they kind of hand out the debt, it kind of perplexes me how there could be so many lenders and it's not regulated. But I agree with everyone here. The way I think of it is capital is not there to start the fire; it accelerates the fire or it fuels the fire. So if you can't make a fire, you shouldn't be going to get capital to try to make it. It's to make things bigger and accelerate. That's the purpose of capital. And the other thing that I'll expand on a little bit is, and I did that in a lot of the courses that I taught, people really don't understand the difference between being self-employed and being a business. As Lindsay said, scalable and that sort of stuff. There's nothing wrong with being self-employed. There's nothing wrong with creating a job for yourself and you do most of the work and that sort of stuff. You will find that there won't be a lot of capital opportunities for somebody that does something like that. You get a line of credit, but I can't go and say, as a consultant, as a president of a company, oh, can I get a $5 million line of credit? For what? It's like, for what? It's you and a small team. For what? So really the capital that's why it's driven a lot into real estate and all these other kind of different places where you're going to be able to grow quickly, and that capital is going to be able to double and triple almost instantly. And the bank and the financial institutions, they like that. That's risk averse. Small businesses are heavy in risk. It's like, that's just what it is. Only the person that started the business believes in that business. You sound like a lunatic to your friends and family the first day that you say, I'm going to be, I didn't start as I'm going to be president of Gambit Services. And when I did it, man, I didn't believe I was the president for probably the first, 5-6 years. So it's a process. Everything's a process. If you don't believe in yourself, they're not just going to pour money on you.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this, because I do want to jump into something, but I do want to just to level set this for anybody listening and watching. There's a ton of commercials running around for Capital One business credit card. Samuel L. Jackson is the voice of it, right? And they're like 2% cash back, 3% cash back on all your purchases. And it's a restaurant 30%. Ad. 3%. It's a restaurant ad, and they're like one of everything, right? But let's level set this for a minute. When you're talking 2% cash back, you're talking 20 cents on every dollar you spend is all you're getting in this quote unquote cash back that's going to give you more spending power. And you can't use it. You're not even going to make enough cash back to pay the 29.9% interest rate.
That's the best part.
Right. So it's very predatory in that sense. And people in the advertising game were playing on emotions. That's why it's always about these emotions. You're playing on emotions. And even in the emails that we get as a small business, guys, you just, delete it, block every one of them. They're robo emails, by the way. So nobody's ever actually looked at anything about you. Just like Markis said, they don't know anything about you on social media. Don't get tied into thinking you're the cat's meow, because you're not. You're just another schlub like me and everybody else in the room who they're trying to sell something to. But I want to circle back around to something, that was passed on, because I know that this is a big factor is, that $1 million idea. Do you know what your business is? What's your pro formas? And I want to go to one of my favorites. It's the business plan, because I have seen more crappy ass business plans in my lifetime than I've probably seen, bad loan ads. And it's actually a factor. It's a factor in the process of getting a loan, and banks want to see your business plan. Let's go. Let me jump on you on that one, Rafael.
The business plan is the identity of any business. And it's important. It's not important that it be very long. It's not a college project. You're not going to get graded on it. A lot of people get stuck on that, pay for all these expensive, templates and websites and all that. All of that is not necessary. All you're looking to do is impart the identity of your company, what kind of feeling it gives people, what it does, the logo, that sort of stuff, and then immediately to the numbers. So, I know that that's the not sexy part of business. And trust me, I hate numbers. I've had to learn to love them, but it's a part of the business I don't enjoy. But the magic is in the numbers.
So that's what
you got to do.
It's not a big number, but in the scope of things, it's a big number. Just an average of 12% of businesses are not approved because they have a bad business plan.
Yep.
That's crazy, right? A lot of people don't think it's. Go ahead, Lindsay. I know you got something to say on that one.
I'm like, it makes sense. And the reality is that sometimes you need to know that a business plan is not going to guarantee you funding. That's first of all, because I know that people have, my business plan is done. I'm ready for a bank. Well, let's take a look at the business plan. How old is the business plan? How old is the business? So the first thing is that most small businesses are not revisiting their business plan if they've ever had one. Your business plan is a living, breathing document. It is your resume. When you go to apply for a job, if there's a 10-year gap in your experience, they're going to ask you about that. And if you say, oh no, I've worked, they're going to say, well, why isn't it here? They want to know what you've done. What's changed? Have you taken on, are you trending? Are you moving with the market trends, with the social trends, with the economic? They want to see that you've updated it. But more importantly, like Raf said, the investors, they love a good looking business plan, but they're going to look at the numbers. So make sure that your numbers are telling a story and that it's justifying what you're asking for. If you are asking for $250,000, but your business plan is only speaking about equipment that, in my head as a lender, maybe this equipment does not add up to 200. Be specific. Tell me what you're using it. What is the roadmap? And not just what you need the money for, but it should have that road to repayment in there. Remember, banks don't want to lend you money without making sure that they're getting it back. And so whether you're operating or you're looking for funding through an SBA guaranteed loan or just a traditional loan, your business plan needs to match what your conversation with the lender. And so make sure that you're revisiting it. Your financials are the heart of the plan. Make sure that tells the clearest story. I love that you bake cakes. I love that everyone in the community said it was great. I love that you made 100 of them for your kids' school, but you're asking me for $50,000 and none of this speaks to what the need is going to be, your plan for repayment, how soon you're going to turn a profit. So when you're approaching a bank, you should have that there. Also, what are you willing to lose? Collateral is huge. What is your skin in the game? We're putting our name on the line with banks. What are you willing to lose? So those things should be baked in a plan. So it shouldn't just be all the warm fuzzies about how this has been a dream since you were a toddler. I want to know, what do you need the money for? How much do you need? How soon can you repay it? Those are guarantees that lenders are looking for.
Sure. And let me ask, Markis, is that something that you've run up in with when you're working in the community? What are some of the problems that you see in the community when it comes to their business plans?
The thing, I'm glad you asked that question, Eric. The main thing is that not addressing the obvious. So the easiest way to do that is to at least have a minimal SWOT analysis in your business plan. But a lot of people leave that out. People are scared to address issues with their business. The bank, I agree with you, Rafael and Lindsay, the bank is going to rely heavily on the numbers and your projections and the narrative you put with that. But they're also going to want to see the obvious, right? If you are, say you're a magazine business and you want to be they're going to, listen, nobody buys magazines anymore. Tell me, what are your threats here in your business, right? So you want to, and again, nobody's probably going to go to the bank with a magazine idea, but again, you might have a repair shop, right? And they say, okay, you say you're going to do 40 cars a month. Wow, you got that much business coming in, but you're not getting any more space. You're still only in 1,000 square feet. That doesn't make sense. So address the obvious in your business plan, even if it's something that you're weak in, but have a solution to address those obvious issues.
Yeah, that's sound advice. I mean, again, all this is on the onus of the business, and again, we come up with against red tape, but we can't get around. Like you said, it's the government's the government, the banks are the banks. These are the processes that we have to go through. What's the take on Lindsay? What's the take on hiring a consultant to walk people through this stuff? Is it a good investment, you think?
So, like, yes and no. I think that the first thing that you should do is take advantage of free resources as a startup. I think that there are a ton of available opportunities for startups that people don't take advantage of. When I worked in the financial industry, and I was in a financial institution, small business owners were walking with like mailed paperwork from legal companies online. Like, they did my registration and everything, and I'm like, okay, they did. How much did they charge you? They're like, oh, just $400. And I'm like, you know that there was a free resource here that could have done this, and all you pay for, because all they're doing is pressing, enter and emailing you, so you've just paid for that. So I think that being smart about the free resources available is going to be first. However, I would never underestimate the power of a great paid consultant, right? A great paid firm that can work for you and with you. I need someone who, at the drop of a dime, I can call and say, hey, this is what I need for my business. I don't know everything as a business owner. There's no way I could. I barely know, the ins and outs of my own business sometimes. And so what those specialized consultants that are going to charge you will do is they can kind of take on some of that responsibility. They're not going to do it for you, but they'll do it with you. They'll ask you the good questions. They'll help you draw out the plan. They'll help you do what you can't focus on doing while you are actually running your business, right? If your business is your 9 to 5 and you are dealing with clients from the moment you open that door until the moment you close, there's no way you can apply for grants on your own watch. There's no way you can have your business plan updated with the trends. I believe that there is a benefit in paid specialized services, but I don't think that it's necessary for every small business to have. And I would especially say it's not necessary for startups unless you're in a very specified field. But use the free resources. Come to SBA. SBA.gov is a great resource, and we'll partner you with, Markis and his team. We'll tell you, well, we know some really good services, consultants with Rafael. Like, we'll do that. We'll hold your hand and guide you to the resources. But when you are starting up, do not spend more than what you need, because you're not spending out of profit. You're spending out of your personal savings. And so let's get to a point where, you can afford a quality consultant as well. Don't just put your money because someone says, well, I'll help you. You need a quality consultant, just like you need a quality lawyer or accountant. So those are things that come down the line. Those are things you put in your projections and your business plan. But I think that both are equally valuable.
Yeah, and that goes to I've seen this a lot, and I had this conversation with Dr. Lauren Meir. She's the co-host on my podcast, and Rafael, you had a chance to meet her. We see it a lot in the marketing space. Is everybody's a consultant now? Oh, I ran a restaurant for 5 years, so I'm a business consultant. Well, why are you not running your restaurant anymore? Oh, yeah, we closed it. Why? Nobody's asking the why, right? Or you see the social media posts that are, AI took my advertising all the way up to blah, blah, blah. And I woke up today and was a bazillionaire. So there's a lot of the, for lack of a better term, bullshit out there. It really is. So, I'm going to, and Rafael, you can agree with this wholeheartedly because you yourself do the consulting work. You were Govy for a long time. Now you're private sector. But don't push that Instagram button to sign up for services. Don't do it. Sign up with SBDC, sign up with SBA, sign up with your local business association. If you're in Hudson County, there's Hudson County in Hudson County, New Jersey, if you're watching in Saskatchewan or something. But Hudson County, New Jersey, Office of Business Opportunity. they can direct you to vetted, qualified consultants, people that there's relationships with. They're not opening up the old school yellow pages or going up online on a social media platform and going, business consultant, Hackensack, New Jersey. These are relationships that are vetted. So where do you land, Rafael, on that consulting? Because, we know that agencies aren't necessarily hands-on, right? They're guides. Some consultants are hands-on. Where do you land on that sort of that marriage with that? Because it's a need for everybody. Yeah. When is the time for them to really, as a consultant, to really step in your opinion?
I know it sounds self-serving, but what Lindsay was saying is correct. The consultants are not the answer to everything, but a good consultant is a connector. Somebody, imagine a hub and spoke. Is it a hub and spoke model? You can imagine a great consultant is a person that can stay right in the middle and kind of connect the dots for the business, expedite stuff, those sort of things. So same as capital, Eric, consultants serve a special niche, just like banks. We either stop the bleeding, there's some sort of crisis, that's when it's great to spend money on a consultant. Somebody could come and make the crisis stop immediately, right? And then the other side of the coin is you want a consultant as an accelerant, just like with the capital. So I usually go hand in hand with my clients. If it's not one of those two buckets, then you're just outsourcing your admin or your BD. That's basically, and I get hit with that a lot. And I'm going to say, honestly, the last 2 years, I've started to phase away from that sort of work because me being administrative support to a leader when I'm able to accelerate or stop the bleeding, it doesn't have any sort of value. So, to what Lindsay stated earlier, it's true that they are good resources, but if you don't know what you're doing yet, use the free resources. And I can't vouch for business coaching or life coaching and that sort of stuff because I have my own opinion about that. But there
you
are
need
good
a coach. By the way,
coaches.
you need a life coach. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah, because it's what is it? It's work balance, right? That's it. Work balance. That's
no
me.
such thing.
Work balance. Yeah. No, but that's really kind of where I see that. It's consultants are great. They're great people when used in the right situation. If not, there are free resources. If not, get yourself a good coach that can help crystallize that idea that you have and start assigning you little steps. That's not something I directly do anymore, but Gambit Services does that because a lot of people are going to overspend money with us when they're not really ready to accelerate anything. They're not even clear on what it is that they want to do. They're just like, I want to chase this money. So that's a lot of what we do. That's the strategic services side. That's very difficult to explain to people that have not worked with consultants. That's what I would say hinders a lot of small businesses. They don't even know what consultants are. They don't know what they could bring to the table. They just see them as connect me to the money and get this bid completed for me.
Yeah,
that's like 5% of what a consultant does,
Right. So, Markis, I'm going to derail this just a little bit because I think there is a correlation into readiness, and you see readiness a lot on your BIDFEST program. You have a program called BIDFEST where you're working with, it's a 2-day program, right? Where you're taking people through a legitimate government contracting bid, right?
Yes.
So we talk about, and again, because I think you see it overall, but I think the BidFest is a great opportunity to say, you've probably got people come to your door that are just not ready.
Yes, 100%.
To partake in your program. Same thing with the financing. They're just not ready. What's the not ready in that case? Is it a correlate? Is it the similar things?
With respect to bidding on public contracts?
Compare, and as well as, again, being business ready, bidding on a government contract, being financially ready for a loan. Like, are there any overlaps and similarities in that business space that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're almost one and the same, to be frank with you, because if you have your business together such that you're going to be attractive to lenders, then you're likely going to be prepared to do government work. One of the hardest things in working with government is not having that relationship like you do with your private customers, whereby you pay for the service, I provide you the service, or some sort of quid pro quo. In the government space, you do the work, we evaluate it, then you get paid. And so you have to have the financial strength to work like that, especially because we're not used to working like that in the private realm. I will add, as 2 cents, I think what Lindsay and Rafael said are right on. Look for your free resources. I would suggest you use your available capital on marketing. Business is nothing more than marketing and innovation. So especially in your early stages, use your available capital on marketing, use free resources in combination with that. And then when you are able, pay for quality consulting that focuses you on not just admin stuff, but acceleration and making sure those fires stay out. That was my summary of what you both said, but I wanted to add that because I think it's a great picture to paint for people when you're thinking about, okay, I have some money, what's the best use of it? My experience, and I think you all might echo it, the most important thing is get your engine running. Like Rafael said, what are you consulting about? If you don't have cash flow and you don't have a business running, so use your money on marketing. Back to the other question, Eric, but answer and expanding on it. Absolutely. If you're ready for funding, you're likely ready for government contracting. And going back to the funding, what makes you not ready? Refusing to prioritize those administrative tasks. You have to prioritize your administrative tasks. It's not it's gonna get done at some point. I got to keep working. People will tell you, one of my biggest frustration, if we're talking about social media and online, is people telling you, keep working, everything else will work out for itself. No, it won't. No, it won't. One of the most important things to work on is the administrative work. Keep your books up to date. Do your bank reconciliations monthly. File your taxes on time, file your quarterlies, pay your estimated taxes. Keep your administrative stuff in order. Your business will thrive.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So I'm gonna hit two beats there. Marketing, yes, absolutely. However, what I'm gonna tighten that up is have a strategy to your marketing, because you can bleed out in marketing easily. And there needs to be a strategy there. And that strategy doesn't have to be some long-winded corporate crazy strategy that you see Google trying to pitch you. It's real simple. I need awareness. I need to let people know I'm here. Then I need to know who my target audience is, and I need to market to that target audience. It's that simple, right? Don't get crazy.
Over again. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Because, it's easy to bleed out. We spend money on advertising for our events. And I've gotten caught in the bad ad loop where the ad was very ineffective, where we had to dial it back and change it. So you can lose a lot of money in ad and waste it. So be smart about how you advertise and absolutely take that free stuff. And then, the books, the back end, if I didn't have a Mark, my business partner, if I didn't have a Mark, everybody should have a Mark, somebody who can take care of that back end. If your mother has bookkeeping experience for 25 years, and she's sitting there doing nothing all day, ask mom to help you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look for we used to do this thing where we would say we set up 4 resource piles. One is friends, family, and free resources. The other is public free resources. Then it's the resources I can afford, and then the resources I want, right? And set up these 4 sort of columns and make these lists of the resources so that we know, I can go to Uncle Joe because Uncle Joe is going to help me out that day, doing XYZ every Tuesday, right? Create that resource line so you know where you're landing and what you have to work towards, and that might be the back end administration, and if that means you only get to talk to an accountant once a month because that's what you can afford, then find that accountant once a month that you could bring all your paperwork to, and over the course of the next 30 days they get it sorted out. Lindsay, I saw you, you shake your head yes so much. I guess we're like there's nothing to counter in this group of people. I've put too many fine, smart people in the room here who all agree and who have all seen way too much. I'm gonna, for the last couple of minutes, I do want to shift something because we are talking truth here, right? The goal is truth. And Tell me, Lindsay, what is that one ugly thing you see constantly happening with small businesses that is the constant over and over again? And this is a question for all of you. You're just seeing it so much. You're like, there's that big X on the wall. You want to run into the wall because you're like, why hasn't anybody fixed themselves yet? Like, hit me up with something.
I think this can be encouraging for small businesses, but it's frustrating when you sit down with a small business and they're ready to count themselves out because their business has not taken off in a year. And I need small businesses to know that you're not going to see success overnight. That's with anything. You're not going to close that deal overnight. Your marketing is not going to pay off overnight. I mean, there are brands on TikTok that we hype up 100,000 likes. Oh, I'm visiting your restaurant. The next post is like, where y'all at? Because it's about consistency. And I think that all of this is about recognizing that entrepreneurship and owning a business is really a journey. It's not an easy task, and you're not always going to have the results immediately. I'll use an example. This current administration is hyper-focused on onshoring or manufacturing. So if you're a manufacturer in America right now, you're listening to this and you're like, yes, I'm all in for it. Let me be very clear. While we are excited to support you, the reality is that we still need to build the infrastructure to support the need. That's not unique to manufacturing. There are small businesses out there who have been building, or they feel like they've been in the startup phase for 6 to 12 months. The reality is that most businesses don't really start turning profits until after 3 years. And so if you are looking for your business, because you think you have the world's greatest idea, make sure that you are following and setting realistic expectations, realistic timelines, and realistic guidelines. I also want everyone who's a business owner to stop thinking about things as a cost to your business and think about them as an investment for your business. Whether we're talking about a consultant, if it's a cost to you, you're not ready. You need to pay a consultant and say, this is an investment. If you're paying an accountant and you're looking at what is the cost, you're not ready. You need to look at it as an investment. So I think what I want to encourage small business owners, consultants, resource partners, anyone who is supporting small businesses, do not set the false expectation that there will be results overnight. Rafael said he's been in business for years. He's still growing. He's still learning.
2009, I've been doing this.
And it's like every day you learn something new. Every day you make a new connection. And so be patient. Make sure that you are tracking your results, not just for marketing, but for your social and emotional wellness. And then make sure that you are learning how to optimize as you go. That goes back to updating your business plan. Revisit it. It should be like a little journal. You should be making notes. Hey, this didn't work this year. So that when you go to speak to that consultant or you go to reapply for a loan, you know what the difference is from when the last time you were sitting in that chair. And so, we've talked a lot about the ownership for small businesses, but I think that is a key, that nothing that we're telling you is going to happen overnight. You can meet the perfect lender, have perfect credit, the best business plan. It's still going to take that underwriter 3 to 5 weeks to process that loan. Then it'll probably take a few days for it to hit your account, and then a couple of years to see a return on investment. So be patient.
Yeah. So Markis, same thing. What's a horror story that is driving you nuts that you see as a consistent issue with small businesses that could be fixed?
I think it's in our field with government contracting, it's not feeling like you're entitled to anything. I think business owners, especially the entrepreneurs that I know are extremely successful, they're like titans. What's the word or the group? I forget.
Spartan.
They're like Spartans. They don't have an excuse for anything. They have a goal and they're getting to the goal. There's no, I believe, it's a knowledge, it's a certainty, and it's okay, I got to deal with this crap, but I'm going to deal with it. It's crap. Like, I just want my business owners to have a better attitude, really, because you're not entitled to anything, but you do have a ton of support out here, and it's good quality support. Just look for it, but be that Spartan that you're going to see this through. You're going to make a legacy for yourself and your family no matter what. And it's not about the negative stuff that comes around. If you don't live in this world, you don't get the negative stuff. So if you want to die and go away, good riddance. But if you want to be alive and live here, there's going to be negativity. Deal with it and keep moving. Come talk to us. Talk to people. Don't have an ego about your business, but have a goal that you're going to succeed no matter what. And when we have attitudes like that, I'm telling you, these are the people who get contracts with us and keep coming back and get contracts. Those are the business owners with that attitude. They get contracts and they thrive.
So same question for you, Rafael. What's some of the ugly that could be fixed that we see too much of, that you see too much of?
You know, I'm gonna agree with the group again, and I'm gonna say that people quit too early. I started in 2009. I had been laid off from a state consultancy, just lay off, you know, lack of work, lack of business. And then I had this consulting skill, and I just branched off and said I was going to be a consultant that helped businesses access these grants, all these grants and things that people access now, all the way back then. But back in 2009, that was a joke in the private sector. The private sector didn't want to have anything to do with government. And so my grand idea of branching off into business blew up right off the line, because I'm thinking that because these resources are out here, that my skill set as a consultant is going to be in high demand, because all these private sector people are going to want their tax credits and their this and their that. I said, I'm going to make so much money, and nothing. And ironically enough, what ended up serving me was my workforce development side, because I quickly figured out that in having the knowledge of accessing grants, that cities didn't talk to counties, counties didn't talk to the state didn't talk to the feds. So here I turned into like the translator. And that's really where the work started picking up. And then I did what everybody tells you to do: follow the money. Okay, forget the other thing that you had, dump that and follow the money. And that's really what a journey is like. It's like, you know, you hit pay dirt, and then you hit the wall, and then you hit pay dirt again, and then it's only through the thousands of mistakes that now you look like a maverick to everyone. But anyone that knew you when would say, yeah, he hit the wall about 300 times, so of course he knows how to fly it perfectly now. It's like, it's that sort of stuff. And there's no class where you could teach that, or there's no one place. You don't learn it in school. It's hard knocks. It's a lot of systems. They're all overlapping each other, and you got to identify which ones matter to you and follow it. And you know, Eric, I know that you will agree with this one. It's almost to the point of delusion sometimes. If you see
I am
it,
absolutely
you're
delusional.
the only one that has to see it. And it's hard when you have to push yourself forward and you're the only one that sees it. And that, as an entrepreneur, that has to be enough, because everyone else will just say, this guy's crazy. Right, Eric?
That's it, man. No, absolutely. Listen, I agree with you completely. Everybody here today knows that I am absolutely not asking permission with what I do. Lindsay has always been trying to say to me, dude, you got to play ball. Nope, sorry, Lindsay, can't play ball. You know, I'm a maverick. As a matter of fact, off camera, we had this conversation, right, Lindsay? We talked about procurement brand doing some government stuff. And I said, the biggest problem with me doing government stuff is I'm going to lose a lot of my autonomy. So, and that for a lot of people is crazy. Well, Eric, why don't you take the guaranteed paycheck? Well, because I lose a lot of what I'm good at by doing that. So I take that vision. And here's something I want to say is, before we wrap up, because you had said this, Lindsay, if you're looking at things as cost, you're not ready, right? Versus investment. So I personally realized the change in my business model and my success, and whatever my version of that is, came when I stopped looking about how I was going to pay the bills every month and everything flipped and changed when I started chasing the goal, not the money. That's when everything changed. And I mean, I speak from experience on that one. I stopped with looking at how to pay the bills, how to pay this. My brain realized that if I hit the goal, the money's going to be there. And when I took that change in my business, boom, everything just started working. And I often ask myself, why did I take the job of a CEO? It's a lot of work, because it is. I'm like, wow, this isn't just some sit back, relax, take weekends off kind of thing, but I'm happy doing it. It's nonstop. I'm happy doing it. I don't feel like I'm doing a job. But yeah, it's definitely the mentality is changing. To your thought of Markis as a Spartan. Yeah. I mean, I hate to break the news to the world, but not all you out there are Spartans, and not all of you will be able to be Spartans. And that's okay. Because sometimes we need we all need the person who runs the small mom and pop shop, and we all need the people who have great ideas, but they work for somebody to execute those ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. So not everybody's going to be a Spartan, but that doesn't mean there's not a place. There's always a place. I've met people in business that their business didn't take off, but they work great with me as a consultant or a gig worker, or you know what I mean? They're fantastic. So
yeah, Lindsay, not everybody has to be the prime. Sometimes you can be okay being a sub.
Yeah.
Contracting terms, but it's true to this day. I don't have to have the biggest and best, but if I can assist another business with what they're doing, I win too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to be an expert in failure. I am an absolute 100% wise old man on the mountain when it comes to failure. I know it very well. And I think that's okay too, because as long as we're learning from that, businesses will elevate. Folks, I appreciate you guys being with me here tonight. I know, Lindsay, you were like, oh, damn, I'm taking a risk.
I was like, what is the topic? What are we discussing? Because sometimes Eric can just, he will just speak his mind. But I say this genuinely. We appreciate all the work that you're doing for the small businesses, not just in New Jersey, but across the country and the world. Same thing for you, Rafael and Markis. I mean, you are in Hudson County, but you are not just in Hudson County. He is he is throughout the state, and the territories and people all over know him. And so this was not, I didn't have to think about whether or not to join this call. And you guys have proven once again that you really are leading the charge for small businesses. Excited.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you, Lindsay. And yes, Markis is not just in Hudson County. This man is everywhere. True business advocate, not a bureaucrat. And then Rafael is the squeaky wheel for sure. He is everywhere as well. And listen, I don't care if you're in New Jersey. Folks, don't think just because we're coming out of New Jersey, and I have people from New Jersey here, that we're not everywhere in the country. You find us, you email us, we'll put you in touch with somebody in your state, if not help you ourselves. That's what we do.
Give me time.
No, dude, I'm sending you to Alaska. I didn't tell you.
Give me time. I'm going to expand.
All right, Lindsay, where can they get in touch with you or go through SBA online?
So for our national website, you can visit www.sba.gov. If you're looking for me or anyone in our district office here in the state of New Jersey, you'll just do /NJ. If you are in another state, you can just switch out those abbreviations with your state code, but you'll find my information right there. I answer my own emails and phone. I'm excited to hear from you, talk to you, and meet with you.
And that's for you, it's New York, New Jersey, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico.
That is region 2, but I'm stationed here in New Jersey, but I can assist and throw you to any resource in that territory.
Fantastic. And Markis, where can people get in touch with you?
Markis Abraham, you can reach me at the Hudson County Office of Business Opportunity. That's mabraham@hcnj.us. Any small business looking to get into government contracting, please reach out to us. You do not have to be local to Hudson County. You do not have to be local to the state of New Jersey. But reach out to us. We look forward to working with you.
Okay. And Rafael, I'm going to ignore you. No.
LinkedIn.
Rafael Mata on LinkedIn.
That's right. No, Gambit Services, we help businesses find new revenue, deal with challenging compliance issues, and become procurement ready. So if you think you want to work with us, again, we're an accelerant, or if there's a challenge, as I mentioned earlier, please, you could direct message me there as Rafael Mata or Gambit Services.
All right. And coming online for 2026, chairman of the board, and I have another board member here, Markis.
Watch me age. Watch us age.
Watch us age. We have
capture this, because I only have a few grades now, but they're gonna come in fast and furious.
And I'm gonna look like Santa, so don't worry about it.
And I'll still keep looking pretty. Don't worry about that. Exactly. I put all that stuff on my face. But coming in 2026 is the National Center for Local Business and Workforce Development. We're going to be helping small business development grow, startups to those, junior year businesses, and training the workforce for those businesses. So that's at mynational.org. Check it out. And if you're interested in coming to any of my business events, that is procurementcon.com. Just look it up. It sounds the way it said. Just play with it. Google will find us. And if you're looking to be a vendor at one of our fan events and fan expos, yes, we do have good, fun stuff to do. Just head over to Black Ink with a K, I-N-K, blackink.events. So, folks, check us out. Check these fine folks out. They're here to help you as a small business. Doesn't matter where you are in your small business journey. You could be the small underboarder basket weaver, or you could be the large missile manufacturer. Talk to one of these folks. They are here to help you. And again, thank you so much for being here with me. Again, for all of you. And we'll check you guys out. And Thanks, we Eric. Are out of here.